This video is going to show how I can bring programmatic elements into my massings by manipulating the layers and splitting objects and changing the resulting forms, the resulting form layers to those designated layers like lobby and circulation. So you can see over there I've created a lobby layer and changed its color to red, and I've changed the circulation layer to cyan. And circulation I'm just gonna use as a term for like hallways right now, and elevators and stairwells and stuff like that, and fire stairs. So I can sort of block out larger chunks of my building that are going to be circulated through. Let's say I have this 4-story building. I've joined all of these. I'm going to merge all the faces, so it's a single object that I've sort of taken cuts out of. And I want to designate that this front part is going to be the lobby. Well, I'll draw a line on it. And if you're snapping to the object, you don't have to worry about it being on the C-plane, for instance. That was not on the C-plane, right? But it actually draws on that surface just because I knew I snapped to an object, to two objects that are coplanar. Lobby is my current layer, and I'm going to select this curve that I've just made and extrude the curve. And now I'm going to run a command called split, and we're going to select that object to split, and then we're going to choose that new extrusion to be our cutting object. And now you can see that we have two resulting objects. I'm going to select both of them and use a command called cap, and that's going to make sure that they are solid poly surfaces, right? So if I move that away, you can see that they're closed, and I'm going to select this object and change it to the lobby layer. I could do this in a number of ways, right? I don't have to just split it vertically. For instance, if I wanted to not include this as my lobby, I wanted this to be like office space, I can change the direction of an extrusion, create what I usually call dummy objects or cutting objects, select the lobby to split, and then that as the object to split, or the object as a splitting object, and change that back to the original layer. And I'll cap this, and sometimes you'll get these weird things that cut through. That just means there's a couple things probably there, and you can delete them, you can keep them, it's up to you. And now I could boolean these things again as a boolean union and merge all the faces, and now I have a nice diagrammatic representation of my lobby. So let's do a similar thing for this this massing. I'm going to select this. Before I do it, I'm actually going to create a copy, so I know what the formal idea is behind that massing, and now I'm going to start to break it down into its programmatic elements based on what I think is right, or just a hunch that I have, some intuition. I'll do the same thing I did last time by drawing a curve. It doesn't have to be on the object though. It just has to fully be able to separate the object. It can actually be a lot bigger. So I'm going to use the same command. We're going to use split. I'm going to select all those floors, and I'm going to split with that object. And now if I delete this, you can see that all of these objects are separate. I'm going to select all of them and cap them. And now they are closed solid poly surfaces. And maybe I want to have two iterations of this. One that's like this, where the top floor is maybe an overhanging office or like some other thing. And then you can compare these very easily, right? You know that this is lobby and this is the lobby. And then maybe this other iteration I wanted to go all the way to the top. And you can see which one you might like better in terms of diagramming. You can quickly compare. You can actually compare their volumes as well. So if I type volume, I have 137 cubic feet versus about 100,000 cubic feet. So it's not really necessary, but in the future it might be kind of a nice trick to find the volumes very quickly. Let's say I have this diagram here, and this is the third method I want to show, where I start with a floor plan. Well, all of these are individual, or so some of them are collected lines. What I would do is I would select these, copy it over, and then I would start to trim out the elements and break it down into its programmatic aspects. I wouldn't do this in the in the future necessarily, but this is a really simple way if you only have like 3 or 4 things to show, right? So that's one that would be my lobby. I've already done this over here. I've broken it up into the lobby, the circulation, and the office space, and I've joined all of these curves. So now actually if I extrude these and I'm on the lobby layer, they'll all be put on that lobby layer. Let's make sure I'm clicking the right height. And I can change these back to the circulation layer and these back to, let's say, the 0, 0 layer. And then I can move these back into place. Or I can arrange them in different iterations. So let's take this and copy it over. Maybe I want one iteration where the office space is slightly detached formally from from that, and this would be like a light well coming in, right? That's just one investigation, and then maybe I switch these elevators to create a more complex situation, and maybe I won't like this, but that's fine. Like it's really easy to do, right? So that might be one iteration. The other iteration is to just move them all into place. So let's select these. Let's move those back into place, and let's move that back over here, right? And maybe I'll scale this item up. Whoops, I didn't get that directly spot on. Then maybe I could take this into a different iteration where the lobby is slightly smaller by using scale 1D and using the ideas behind those original tutorials that I showed you about different iterations. And so now I can compare all of the lobbies, right? And I can use a volume here, and this is about actually as big as the volume of this lobby, even though it looks a lot bigger. That's one way to compare them. So volume 137 versus 136. So those are the 3 methods I would recommend starting with. Is originally, if you start with a mass, start splitting it using extruded planes or lines. You could also, split half of the object, or you could extrude certain objects and put those back together.